Hi, everyone. This is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead, Season 10, Episode 13 review, live fan reactions. You know what? It's fine. You know, there's going to be a couple that maybe didn't live up to expectations. Janie, I would strongly disagree. You certainly have a right to your opinion. I was not disappointed. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I love the story. I love moving forward. I think it was a perfect send-off. I mean, to me, wow, unbelievable. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Before we get too far into it, I do want to give a shout-out to the Patreon Army. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Patreons, we got 3 more episodes of The Walking Dead, and it is going to get intense. Another shout-out also to the PDL sponsors. So you can't really talk about this episode without thinking about where it ends and what the next steps of the show is going to be. And you see that marching toward the colony. If you had any, if you've lived and you felt the emotions of Rick Grimes all along, and you kind of felt the pain of Michonne, like every single step, and you think back of what she was going through to find him, what Daryl went through to find him, you know, the emotion with Judith. Wow, I lived it. I mean, I just felt everything she was going through. Tremendous emotion. E Beach, 20 out of 10. Absolutely. The music was excellent. Love this episode. Glad to be here with y'all. I'm glad to be here with you guys as well. I thought it had just the right mix of story, of living, you know, her past demons. I thought they did a great job. You know, you guys have said this for so long that what would it be like? We've always wanted to kind of see that story. What would it be like if you were a savior? And how easily it would have been for Michonne to have been on that other side of it, and to be the one that thought she was bringing justice to the group that sort of crossed them. And you know, say what you want about Negan, but I think the people that were killed in their sleep, you know, maybe they followed Negan, but I think a lot of viewers have always had sort of a weak spot for that group, right? Like, you know, they weren't innocent, but at the same time, the way they died, I think some people took exception to it. The lineup, I think there's always going to be problems with the lineup and how extreme Negan was, but not all the saviors were bad saviors, right? That's why they took some of them on. It's good to see DJ again. Good to see Laura again. I love how they brought people back. I think it was incredible. Wow. So I think the big news is going to be the march and what she's looking for and how they transition that to the movie. But were you guys kind of saddened to see Michonne leave, or did you feel like that they did it the right way, that it was very inspirational and very motivational, that she's finally finding what she was looking for? E-Beach, can we get a side project with Michonne, with Negan? I doubt it. I think they've just got so much on their hands with the movie and getting the movie, and now that they've got everybody where they want them, right? And, you know, for obvious reasons, we know that there's going to be a slowdown just based on what we're all dealing with right now. Certainly, we don't know when the movie is going to come about, but I think, you know, the plan before the world changed, the plan was later on in the year, early next year, and now we don't know when the movie's coming out. So, you can't make that assessment. Even, the World Beyond got pushed back. So, but we're going to be right here as fans whenever they do get back to it, and I cannot wait. I can't wait. We see Delta Outlaw, amazing episode. Yeah, absolutely, man, no doubt about it. Movie star, I think there's always going to be that question. I don't know about Michonne leaving her kids like that. I think you've got to put it into context. Is one, I don't think her intent when she said, I'm going up looking for them, is to potentially leave her kids for months. I think it's, I'm going to go out, I'm going to look, and wherever it leads her, but I don't know that she's planning on being gone for a long, long period of time. I think, maybe in her mind it's going to be a few weeks. She'll be okay. She's under the care of Daryl. But at the same time, what do? You get one shot at this. You get a few clues. Do you go back, maybe kind of miss the lead? And I think that's the moment you kind of got to live with, is you got to live with, if she misses out on this opportunity, and Judith kind of told her in so many words, like, we're safe. Now, we know Beta is going to go absolutely nuts, so Judith is not safe. But at that moment, Michonne is under the impression everything is fine. So we got E. Beach Jr. said Rick draws like an 8-year-old. Well, you never. Maybe he was under the effects of that tea. Maybe that's why, Fluff. I want to get some of your comments in this video. So, Jesus says, do you think Eugene knows Rick is alive because of the radio? I don't think he knows Rick is alive, but the question is going to be raised that Father G knows something, Negan knows something about the helicopters. So the only problem that I have with all of this is, why can't Judith go to Father G, or Father G go to Negan, and they all compare notes and say, hey, Rick might still be alive? That's kind of it's almost like they got this great information and they just don't want to tell anybody. And I don't know why they don't want to tell anybody. Najee Watt says, you think Rick ended up in China? There were Chinese symbols scratched on his phone. I think Rick's all over the world. I think the intent of that, Najee, is to show that Rick is certainly got resources and traveling. So I'm going to go back to something I said a little while before. I think I don't know what the Commonwealth has on Rick to keep him from going back. If it is, I don't think voluntarily that he's just not going. I mean, he could go pick them up and bring them back, right? So, I mean, that would be the question, is why don't, if the Commonwealth just has so much trust with Rick and they've got him going all over the world helping people or killing people or whatever they got him doing, why don't they just send a couple helicopters in and say, hey, let's pick up Daryl and Michonne? And I think that's the part of the movie that I've got to get an answer to. I got to know why 7 years. And I don't think it's such a minor story that you can just gloss over it. I don't want it to be one of those situations where, Rick meets Michonne, they embrace, and then, and it's almost kind of like, hey, I was going to find you, but I was worried. I didn't want to put you in danger, that type of thing. I don't need that. I need something legit. Like, they threatened him. They said, you are going to help us, and if you don't help us, we're going to missile your family. Something like that. I mean, it's going to have to be not just one of those 7 years a long time, man. And then he just leaves some clues. Rick wants to see his family. Now, the question is, and maybe he has not been back to see them since the Whisperer deal broke out, but is it possible that he has been watching from a distance or something? Didn't that look like a little bit more of a grown-up Judith? Like, not Judith when he left her? Almost as if he had an idea of how she was growing up, or saw a recent picture or something along those lines. So it kind of felt like it was a grown-up Judith. So that would tell me that Rick has had some type of insight. Okay. I'm sorry, Miss Trigger's super chat here. Whoever did the drawing on the phone has seen Judith recently. She didn't look like that when he left. All right, we're thinking alike, Trigger. So good point. Great minds. So I would say, now, I will also say this. If it was that recent and he knew about the Whisperers, I think he would have stepped in. I think if he knew that there was a potential for all of them to die, but where Rick probably last got his intel was when they were in pretty good shape. They lived pretty peacefully for a while, and then all of a sudden these whispers barge in. So just because Rick could be watching doesn't mean he's watching all the time. And I know I'm kind of making excuses for the story, but it's not a plot hole. It's just a big part that's going to need an explanation. That's all. Great thoughts. Get your thoughts in here. Hey, everybody, if you're just tuning in, this is our reaction video, so feel free to react. Let's do it. Let's get some numbers out there. And as I said, I tuned in. A couple people, certainly wasn't up to their expectations. And that's nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to talk about the show, not trying to change your opinion, but there were some things that I really, really loved about it. So I'm going to ask you guys, 1 to a 10, everybody right now, get your numbers in there, get your thoughts. I thought it was phenomenal. I think Angela Kang did absolute justice to Michonne's character. I think some people may say the verdict's still out until they see the movie, and that happens with a lot of episodes, right? I mean, you need to see the next stage of it to sort of really feel validated with this. But I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Got some 9s, couple 8.5. Some people going way over the curve. They're like 11, 12, 15. I just thought this week compared to last week that there were some, I thought telling the Savior story to me was a bigger closure than finding out that Beta was a country music singer. That's all. I mean, if I had to choose between last week and this week, look, I know, let's just take it on its surface, okay? What was the major, I'm going to give you guys 2 examples, and I'm going to ask everybody, do me a favor, play along. And Jane, same thing. Jane, you gave it a 6, so play along with us. I'm going to make a couple examples. So what was the big news last week? Big news versus big news. So we'll take this in 3 different stages. So the big news last week, Negan killed Alpha. So what's the big news this week? And from an overall story perspective, Michonne finds out that Rick is still alive. So if you had to put those 2 things against each other, that's pretty tough, right? One may not be so far ahead of the other, but one is not so far behind the other either. So if I had to evaluate what was a bigger deal, Alpha dying by Negan or Michonne finding out Rick's alive, for me, Michonne finding out Rick is alive is a bigger deal. I didn't need Negan to kill Alpha. Alpha could have died. She could have ran away. She could have killed a few more people. But the Rick story, for all of you that love Rick Grimes, I mean, think about that. So if we just evaluate those 2 things on their own. Now, if you take a secondary example and say, okay, what was a bigger story? Fear the Walking Dead puts an album in the middle of the street, and then a whisperer dies because he's like, oh, it was you. It was always you. And then Beta kills him because he's a psychopathic country music singer. Or what was a bigger closing of the loop is finally getting an answer to what it would have been like to live through the Saviors. So as Michonne was going through this journey, I think it's a far, far better story that they brought these people back and she got to see the lineup from that perspective. I mean, that to me was almost as good as Michonne finding out that Rick was alive. Now, those two things certainly are worthwhile. But if I had to add a third element to it, Virgil is Michonne. Virgil is going through that stage that now he ain't getting his wife and kid back, but Virgil's in that state of mind that Michonne was in right after Rick had left, where she was grieving, and Virgil has to go through this. And in fact, it actually touched on drug addiction. Virgil is so distraught over losing his family and the guilt, he became a drug addict. And he wanted Michonne to experience that elation. The only way that he can get through the day is to self-medicate. So it actually touched on a social issue as well. So there's really, and that's pretty much the episode. It also added, a little bit of Michonne could have killed him. So once again, that mercy prevails over wrath. So I think those four underlying issues, been an incredible season, but next week is going to be phenomenal as well. Now, every week we see an episode, we keep saying it gets better and better and better. And it does. So I don't have any doubt the next week when Carol puts Alpha's head on a stake and Beta goes absolutely ballistic. See, they think, well, they're very naive if they think that putting Alpha's head on that stake is going to make Beta turn and run. It's not. So they're actually poking the hornet's nest. So they're going to bring a lot more bloodshed on themselves. And Carol, that's just reckless. But I guess, they're getting a little bit bold. Beta's not just going to surrender. I mean, he's going to devote every resource he's got. Yep, bye, Rosita. So, the question is, who is Carol potentially going to get killed next week? It's like every time Carol does something. And then what is it that Negan is asking for? What's Negan's end of the bargain? And Carol just walked away from him. So Negan kills Alpha and she just turns a cold shoulder to him. So I want to see how that plays out as well. And again, have you guys ever seen a scene that Judith, Kaylee Fleming is in, that she did not absolutely nail it? I mean, unbelievable. Her chats, her emotion, the way she plays this character, I think has attached so many people to her character that if there ever is a time skip, or if they ever want an adult Judith to take the show, I think that we've got so much connection with Judith. And, I hate to say it to those Carl fans out there, and I was not, admittedly, I was not the biggest fan of Carl. I liked Carl. I didn't love Carl. But I think that I would have a much, much better time accepting an adult version of Judith at this point, because I think they've done such a good job with her character. So if the show continues to go on, if it continues to grow, Judith and RJ, to me, could be the future of the show. We got Deadly Dimes. What's up, Dimes? Per Insider, Gimple confirmed that Japanese massage is supposed to mean believe. Oh, the Japanese message. What? It's not a massage. Oh, my God. Anyway, I thought Gimple was getting a Japanese massage. Gimple confirmed that the Japanese message was supposed to mean believe a little bit longer. Okay, fair enough. Judith will carry the show forward. Plenty of writing to be done in her diary. What? Pro Lima, I would absolutely say I sound nothing like Ronnie Hayes. Like nothing. If there were, and no disrespect to Ronnie, but if there were two different voices on the end of the spectrum, and his voice was at one end of the spectrum, my voice would probably be at the other end of the spectrum. There's like zero, nothing, not even close. And I would guess that his is more of a northern accent, and mine is certainly as Atlanta, Georgia as you can possibly get. We know he was a country music singer because, Joe, Fear the Walking Dead, he had albums, and he was on the album cover, and then in the episode where Alpha met Beta, he posed for a picture, and then they kind of finally told the story at the last week. Yeah, it was incredible. So we are about 20 minutes in, and we're going to wind this thing down just in a couple of minutes. Tonight, just wanted to get the reactions, wanted to get everybody's thoughts. Phenomenal. I've absolutely had a wonderful, wonderful evening. We did a great pack opening. We had a great 3-day event, and then closing out the weekend with The Walking Dead. So you couldn't ask for anything more. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. We will be doing a recap tomorrow. So join us early, not in the evening, but probably around 7 o'clock. We'll do a recap. We'll talk about the episode a little bit more. Thank you for everything that you guys do. Certainly, I'm not here to be your parents, but, as most people say, stay safe, everybody. Be smart. Just want everybody to be around for a long time. So the smarter we are, the safer we are, then the more time we have to get together and do streams like this. Thank you so much. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Go check out the rest of Talking Dead. And peace to 999 Army. Thank you.